Imagine a world where the very foundations of society are shaken to their core, where ordinary citizens rise up against the might of kings and empires, demanding liberty and justice. Throughout history, Europe has been a stage for dramatic revolutions that transformed nations and reshaped the course of human destiny. From the fervent cries of the French Revolution echoing through the streets of Paris to the peaceful protests that toppled oppressive regimes in Eastern Europe. These stories of struggle and triumph are not just relics of the past, they are powerful reminders of the relentless spirit of humanity in its quest for freedom. Join us as we journey through time to explore the riveting tales of Europe's revolutions, where every uprising is a testament to the unbreakable will of the people. Throughout history, Europe has been a continent shaped by countless revolutions, each one a testament to the indomitable spirit of its people. From the bloodshed of civil wars to the rise and fall of empires, the story of Europe is one of continuous transformation. Imagine living in an era when the world around you is changing so rapidly, where power structures that seemed unbreakable crumbled almost overnight. This is what many Europeans experienced as revolutions swept across the continent, forever altering the course of history. The seeds of change, early movements. The revolutionary fervor began with small movements. Citizens yearned for greater control over their lives and grew weary of monarchies that ruled without considering the will of the populace. In England, centuries ago, conflict erupted between King Charles I and Parliament. This struggle was not merely ideological, it manifested in bloody confrontations, tearing the nation apart. The outcome? A profound challenge to monarchical power that would inspire future generations. In this turbulent atmosphere, pamphleteers and thinkers like John Locke ignited discussions about rights and governance, planting seeds of democracy in the minds of ordinary citizens. The English Civil War 1642 to 1651 became a battleground for these ideas, ultimately leading to the temporary overthrow of the monarchy and establishing a precedent for parliamentary sovereignty. The French Revolution, a turning point. Fast forward to France in the late 18th century, where dire poverty and rampant inequality created a powder keg ready to explode. The French Revolution ignited not just a revolt against a king, but a fundamental challenge to the entire concept of royal authority. As bread prices soared and famine gripped the nation, discontent simmered among the Third Estate commoners who were the brunt of taxation, while nobility lived in opulence. The streets filled with passionate citizens demanding liberty, equality, and fraternity. The storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, became a symbolic act of defiance against tyranny. It was not just a prison that fell, it was an emblem of oppression that crumbled under the weight of revolutionary fervor. As chaos ensued, marked by radical changes like the abolition of feudal privileges and the Declaration of Human Rights, the Reign of Terror unfolded. Led by Maximilien Robespierre, this period saw thousands executed in the name of protecting the revolution, illustrating both the potential for liberation and the perilous descent into fanaticism. From this upheaval emerged Napoleon Bonaparte, whose military genius allowed him to rise from obscurity to power. He carried revolutionary ideals far beyond France's borders, spreading concepts like meritocracy and legal equality throughout Europe. However, his ambition also led to widespread conflict as he sought to establish French dominance across the continent. Napoleon's ambition and its consequences. Napoleon's ambition spread revolutionary ideals across Europe. However, his quest for domination led to widespread war. His campaigns reshaped national boundaries and instigated a sense of nationalism among various peoples. Yet as his empire expanded, so did resentment against French rule. The continent soon united against him during events like the Battle of Leipzig in 1813, a colossal clash that marked his downfall. Ultimately defeated in 1815 at Waterloo by a coalition led by Britain and Prussia, Napoleon's fall did not erase revolutionary ideals, rather, it planted them firmly in European consciousness. The Congress of Vienna sought to restore order but could not quell the aspirations for freedom that had taken root across nations from France to Russia. The revolutions of 1848, a continental awakening. Decades later, in 1848, Europe erupted once more in what became known as the Springtime of Nations. From France to Italy and from Germany to Austria, citizens clamored for change amid rising discontent with autocratic rule and socio-economic strife. This wave was not solely about overthrowing kings, it was about nationalism, the desire for self-determination, and forging new nations from old empires. In France, Louis-Philippe abdicated amid protests demanding social reforms. In Germany, revolutionaries gathered at Frankfurt's Paulskirche to draft a constitution aiming for national unity, a moment filled with hope yet ultimately thwarted by conservative forces. In Italy, figures like Giuseppe Mazzini inspired citizens with dreams of unification. However, despite initial successes, these revolutions were often crushed under military might or political maneuvering. Yet their message was unmistakable. Europe stood on the brink of a new era, where people would no longer accept autocratic rule or social injustice. National unification movements, Italy and Germany. As revolutionary ideas spread throughout Europe, significant changes unfolded in Italy and Germany, two regions historically divided into numerous states and principalities. In Italy, leaders such as Count Camillo di Cavour and Giuseppe Garibaldi mobilized popular support through strategic alliances and military campaigns against foreign powers like Austria. The unification process culminated in 1861 when Italy emerged as a single nation-state under King Victor Emmanuel I, a moment celebrated with fervor across its newly unified territories. This transformation marked Italy's ascent on the global stage as it sought recognition among established powers. Similarly, Germany transitioned from a fragmented collection of states into a powerful empire under Prussian leadership spearheaded by Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. Through a series of wars including conflicts with Denmark 1864 and Austria 1866, Bismarck skillfully manipulated political circumstances to unify German-speaking territories under Prussian dominance by 1871. Russia's revolutionary transformation. Not all revolutions were about borders or political power in Russia. Widespread suffering under Tsarist rule ignited anger that culminated in revolutions in 1905 and 1917. The 1905 revolution erupted after events like Bloody Sunday, when peaceful protesters were gunned down outside Tsar Nicholas II's palace. This uprising forced concessions from the Tsar, including limited reforms such as creating a Duma parliament, but these measures fell short of genuine change. The February Revolution in 1917 saw mass protests against food shortages and military failures during World War I lead to Nicholas II's abdication, a monumental shift that ended centuries of Romanov rule. Later that year, disillusionment with provisional government led to the October Revolution, where Bolsheviks seized power under Vladimir Lenin's leadership. This transformation did not just impact Russia, it sent shockwaves throughout the world as communism emerged as an alternative ideology challenging capitalism. The Spanish Civil War ideological clashes. As Europe moved into the 20th century, revolutions took on new forms marked by ideological clashes between competing visions for society. In Spain during the late 1930s, civil war erupted between Republicans who sought democratic reforms and nationalists led by General Francisco Franco. This conflict became emblematic of broader societal fractures amid rising fascism across Europe. The Spanish Civil War drew international attention as volunteers from around the globe flocked to Spain to fight for democracy. Figures like George Orwell chronicled their experiences, while artists like Pablo Picasso captured its horrors through powerful imagery such as Guernica. Though devastatingly destructive, this war became an important lesson about the fragility of power and resilience amid adversity. A new dawn, the fall of communism. As the 20th century drew to a close, Eastern Europe prepared for yet another revolution, a peaceful uprising against decades-long communist rule. The iron grip began to loosen as citizens in Poland organized strikes led by trade union Solidarity under Lech Wałęsa's leadership. Their efforts inspired similar movements across neighboring countries. Hungary opened its borders to refugees fleeing East Germany, while Czechoslovakia witnessed mass protests known as the Velvet Revolution. The fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989, an event symbolizing hope, marked not just a political shift but also an emotional awakening for millions yearning for freedom after years spent behind oppressive regimes. It represented unity among divided peoples who had long suffered under authoritarian rule. Conclusion: the legacy of revolutions. The revolutions in Europe are not merely historical events, they serve as powerful reminders that change is inevitable and that the power of people is unstoppable. These narratives of struggle against tyranny and triumph over oppression have profoundly shaped modern Europe while continuing to inspire movements for freedom and justice worldwide. Each revolution reflects humanity's enduring quest for dignity, equality, and self-determination, a legacy that resonates through time. As we reflect on these stories from history, from passionate uprisings fueled by hunger for justice to peaceful demonstrations demanding change, we are reminded that every generation carries forward this torch lit by those who dared to dream beyond their circumstances. Through understanding these moments in history, we can appreciate our present freedoms and recognize our collective responsibility toward ensuring they endure for future generations.